We are live. Welcome everyone to the show. We have beautiful Lynn with us today. I hope everyone is doing well. Of course, this is mainly going to be a show concerning those who are at the end of life stage. Um, and my condolences to anyone who is caring for a loved one that is in this stage. It's not a very easy project to have to go through or a situation to go through. Um, I can speak for myself, caring for my dad before he passed, and of course, being a retired nurse, and Lynn as well, who is a death doula and a retired nurse. So we both have experience, for those of you who are new, with the death and dying stage of life. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Lynn. And please join us in the live chat, guys. If you have any questions at all, if we can help you, maybe give you some tips. Although we've worked healthcare, you have to always look at your situation as well. Okay. Because there are many, many other situations that, we can give you the best guidance that we can give. However, everyone's situation is not exactly the same. So please keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So Lynn, today I would like to talk about some things that people may experience as they are caring for their loved ones. Now, I know that we previously spoke about these things on Cisco Murdoch's show, Journey Through the Gate. However, for those that are coming on new to this channel, I would like to speak about some of these things and, give a little bit more insight to what really may be going on. For instance, many times we may see that a patient or a close loved one may be reaching up in the air, maybe like they're reaching for things and you don't see anything there. What's really happening in that moment, Lynn?
Actually, they are seeing their loved ones coming in, and a lot of times they're reaching out because they're being handed something or they're reaching out to touch them. And usually the person always has a response of a smile on their face, that they're very, very happy. They're not afraid. They're very, very happy with what they're seeing and what they're receiving. They go through a transitionary stage that in nursing we call not transitioning. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh gosh, I can't believe it just slipped my mind. I was just thinking about it. When they're transitioning into that death period, there's a word for it. I'll think of it. But anyway, when they do that, sometimes they're testing the dimensions, and they'll come out of their body, and then they'll go back in, and go back and forth. And a lot of times, people will mention, that their parent has. Their eyes have kind of glazed over and they're not able to verbalize anymore. And then it's kind of like the lights are on, but nobody's home, but yet they're still breathing and their feet are flaccid. But then all of a sudden their toes perk and their eyes brighten up, and all of a sudden they start talking about maybe things that they've seen on the other side, and sharing gifts about babies that haven't been born yet. I've had that happen twice. And they were right. And so, and in very, very amazing situations too, because these women weren't young. One of them was 50. So, and it was her first baby. Yeah. If I could share that story with you, it's a cute story.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. There was a lady that was actively passing, and her daughter was there, and I call her daughter Sharon in my book. But Sharon was there, and her mother says to her, she says, there's a little boy here calling me grandma. And Sharon turns around and she says, well, I'm not married and I'm an only child. So I have no idea why you would be having a little boy approach you calling you grandma. And she says, no, he's your son. And he resembles you. She described him with little brown tousled hair. He was about 7 years old. She was seeing him that way, calling her grandma. And again, Sharon's like, well, that would be the Immaculate Conception, because I'm not dating anybody. I have no interest in anybody. I'm going through menopause, and that's just not going to happen. So lo and behold, Sharon goes to the break room to get a little snack and then go back to her mom's room. And there's this gentleman in there whose wife has just passed away. And he's in the break room waiting for his family to arrive so that they can come in and say their last goodbyes, because the body hadn't been taken by the caretakers yet. So he was there, and they kind of struck up a conversation, and they exchanged numbers just to support one another. Here he had just lost his wife, and here she was the very next day losing her mother, so they kind of were a support system for one another. And they talked back and forth on the telephone for about a year. And then he finally got up the courage to ask her out. So she agreed to go. And 6 months later, they're married, and she's not feeling very well. She thinks that she's got mono. So she goes to the doctor, and she's like, man, I've been so tired and I feel nauseated, and certain smells just make me want to puke, type thing. And he's like, well, could you be pregnant? And she started laughing, and she said, there's no way. Because what happened is I ran into her in Target like 4 years later, and she had this little boy in her cart that was brown tousled hair that was calling her mommy, and I ran into her. So she told me this story, about how she met her man and everything. And she was saying that that there was no way. And he says, well, you're sexually active and you're newly, you've been married for 6 months. Let's just do a pregnancy test just to be sure. And sure enough, she was pregnant. And not only that, she was so far along that when he examined her, he thought either she was pregnant with twins or she was farther along than what she thought. So she goes home. She tells her husband that she has a test the next morning and that he needs to come with her, because they wanted her to come back and have an ultrasound done to check to see how many babies there were and what age they were. So she had him come along. She says, look, you got to take me there just in case they've got to give me something and I won't be able to drive myself home. So he went with her. They go to the doctor's office and they call her back, and she's back there with the sonotech, and they call him back, and he says to the nurse, he says, is everything okay? And she says, well, just come on. She's smiling. And he sits down in the room and he takes his wife's hands, and he's, they're showing them, do you see this? And he's like, is that a mass? Is it cancer? He didn't know what it was. And they said, no, this is your son. Congratulations. And he's like, oh, well, there goes the boat. He made a joke about it because he was planning now to be retired and to have this boat. And it turns out, and he was healthy. He was fine. He was this beautiful little boy that her mother had seen prior to her passing. And the thing that's nice too, rallying is the word I was looking for. When they rally, it's that transitional stage. So many times when they're in that stage, a person, if they can step aside from their grief, because sometimes the angels and the spirits that are of a higher frequency, when they come in, they will increase whatever you're feeling, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. So they kind of stand back, and they still come forward, but they kind of, it's hard to describe in human words. They kind of hold back a little bit, or if there's one person that's really, really suffering bad, they make a way for someone else to come in and remove them from the room so that they can come forward, there's a phone call for you at the desk. So, but the thing is that people don't realize is during this time of rallying, when they come back and they have that lucid moment, even sometimes people with Alzheimer's that haven't spoken in years, they'll have these lucid moments, that you have the ability to speak to the other side through them yourself. How many times have you wanted to ask your Aunt Mary, what her cookie recipe was, or what Uncle Bob did with the clock? This is your chance to do it, because the person that's in that rallying stage, they can hear the telepathy that comes through the spirit world, as well as they can hear the physical speech through those that are embodied. And I don't know if I mentioned this on the last show, but I want to make this clear, because so many times people suffer, and I'm sure that Melissa too, Melissa, why do I keep calling you Melissa? Michelle, sorry, I'm going to call you Shelly Bean. Shelly Bean.
That's fine.
There you go. Shelly Bean.
Yes.
What is the matter with me? I keep forgetting my words. What was I saying before I messed up the Melissa thing? I was talking about, people sometimes worry because maybe they weren't there at the time that the person took their last breath. So they feel guilty for that. But I'm telling you right now, even if there's not a physical body in the room, nobody ever dies alone. There's a whole bunch of beautiful angels and spirits from the other side that come in to join in and help you cross over.
Oh,
So
yes, I absolutely agree.
yeah, it just yeah, but that's kind of where that goes. So I got lots of stories.
Well, I love that story. But it's just so phenomenal to me, how a lot of times I have seen, and I'm not putting anyone down because it's all a learning experience,
Mhm.
especially if it's the first time that you've encountered dealing with passing with, a loved one or someone very close to you, a family member, something like that. Um, and a lot of times, we can see them talking to Aunt Jane or
Yes.
Uncle Tom, and we have to wonder, and of course Aunt Jane and Uncle Tom have already passed. They've already crossed over, and they have these conversations back and forth, it seems. Now I know that when I was caring for him last year, he was he would start talking to his sisters and brothers. He was the last of 11 children, and he would be talking to at least one of them quite often, and he would say that they would come in and out of the room, and um, at first it kind of makes you wonder because he did have a form of dementia, not actual Alzheimer's. It was accredited to cirrhosis, which changed his CO2 levels in the brain. So, it made him kind of have like a dementia type, um, kind of like dementia type symptoms, but it wasn't quite dementia. So there were times that he would hallucinate. So it was like depicting, was he actually hallucinating, was he actually speaking with someone who had already passed on, who was there waiting for him. And then we later found out, my stepmother and I, that he was literally talking to them, because some of the things that he would say, there were things that there's no way he could have known. So we realized he was speaking to them. So it's really fascinating, just like the story you just told, how as people are passing away, it's just really amazing to me how they can see, even if they've never felt like they were psychics, mediums, having any kind of open abilities all their lives. When it gets to that point, when they've lived a very, very long life, and there's something that happens. Have you noticed that? It's almost like, you know, it's my belief that when we come into this world, because our, well, most know as the baby spot, but our fontanelle usually, by the age of 7, it has fused together. So
Mhm.
it is my belief that we are born with open access to God and the divine. And then as it fuses together, it kind of closes off. Now, it's not absolutely true for everyone as far as closing off to our spiritual connection with God. But I'm making a point here, as in when we're born, we're all open to direct access to God, our angels, the divine. Now, as we are we lived a long life, and we're in the geriatrics point of life, and it's like noticing that we start, we always hear and are told that we revert back to childhood, and I feel like that's a big part of it as well. It's like seeing them change, yes, back into being more childlike, but also seeing the spiritual aspect of that. It's like almost like seeing in a sense, their connection to God opening right back up as they came into this world. So because you see all this connection, and I have had many patients, their families, they would make comments, like, why is, my mother staring at the corner in the ceiling? Why does my father keep doing these things and talking to people that aren't there? And of course, Lynn, what is the first thing we have to do in healthcare? What do
Usually
we
I,
have to test for?
oh, wait, I'm sorry. Um, oh, do you mean like them for hallucinations? Are you talking about that?
Yes,
Yes.
what's the main thing usually we have to do when there is an elderly person that is reaching up in the air? What are we ordered to do?
We're ordered to give them medication, usually. Um, you know,
Yes,
yeah,
for UTI.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, you're talking about you. Yes, and you know what? A lot of times they do have it, but I also believe that sometimes when those toxins are in the system too, it shifts the dimensions in the body and puts you a little bit more near death, not because you're dying, but because it's an imbalance in the system. So it puts you off kilter, which also puts you closer to death in the sense that then you're able to also see, because even some of the hallucinations that they have, they don't go away after they've had their antibiotics given. There's a cute story too, if I can share this. There was a
Yes,
man
please.
there was a man that was passing, and he was sitting up and he was reaching into the sky with his hands out, and he was saying out loud, I want to hold the baby. Where's the baby? I want to hold the baby. And his daughter was in the room with him, and she's like, well, Dad, there is no baby. And again, this isn't about a baby being born. And he said, no, no. He said, my son, I want to hold my son. And she's like, well, you've got two daughters, and he's like, no, I want to hold the baby. I want to hold my son. So when the daughter spoke to the mother about what the father was saying, the mother got real quiet and she started to cry. And she then admitted to them she had never told them before that she had had a stillborn child first that was a boy before she had them. And she just had never bothered to disclose that. So he was asking to hold the baby, and the girls found out that they did in fact have a brother that way. But and things like that, happen. And I mean, he was happy about it because he was getting to touch the baby and visit with the baby. So,
Oh,
but yeah, UTI and also in other infections too, sometimes in their sugar too, if it's off, they kind of are considered doing weird things too. But
yes.
yeah, the hallucinations don't always go away after they're medicated. Some of them stick around still for a little while.
Right. So that is one tip. So for if you are caring for someone who, is in the geriatric type, age range, um,
Mm-hmm.
and they start displaying signs and symptoms of what medical may say, could be UTI, as Lynn said, could be, their glucose levels, things of that sort. So it's kind of like ruling things out. So once you've taken the tests, you rule things out or you treat things. And as Lynn was saying, things keep continuing on, then it's like, okay, there's something more. It's time to start, really, really understanding that there is something more going on. It's not just some type of hallucination many times. And it is hard. I have found for some family members, um, not everyone, of course. Some people are more open to it, but there are some that I have encountered that they just wouldn't have it. There was no way about it. No, because of belief systems, and that's okay. However, we do encourage everyone, especially now that the awakening is happening around the world. We do encourage people to, just question things. Don't feel bad about questioning things. And, what could it be? Uncle John that Dad's seeing? You know, could it really be after ruling out or starting medications and things continue? What would you have to say? Hey, Pamela, welcome. Hey, Gail, welcome. So glad to have you. Oh, Gail, you have went through this as well. Lynn, I would like for you to meet Gail. She's a very, very good friend of mine.
Hi,
And
Gail.
she also she cared for her mother as well for many, many years, and was just, her mother was such a lovely, lovely lady. And Gail really took, I mean, excellent care of her mother. And Gail had a really hard time. Gail, I hope it's okay. I won't go too in depth because I don't want to breach any type of confidentiality or make you feel uncomfortable. But Gail, since I do know you, I almost want to cry. You're such a good person. Gail's such a lovely, lovely person. She just really took such good care of her mother. And Gail, if you wouldn't mind, um, could you tell us something in the chat um, that you experienced at the end of life with your mother? Something that you went through, especially like when you were in the hospital with her during that very last uh, few hours. What was experienced in the spiritual sense? Gail is also a very spiritual person. She also has open abilities, and so Gail, I'm so blessed and pleased to have you on here because Gail, you could help so many people, honey. You really could with your stories. I'm so glad to have you. And let's see who else. And Jack Mack, I want to say hi to you as well. Thank you for joining. Pamela, it is just so wonderful to have you on here. Let's see. It's the share what you wish. Oh, thank you, Gail. Thank you. Well, I know her mother also would see and hear the spirit realm at times. And since Gail's given me permission, and Gail would discuss that with me sometimes, and it was almost like it was a feeling of like Gail was always letting her mother know that she was there to support her, yes, but in a spiritual sense, like in an afterlife sense. Um, because Gail knew that her mother was literally seeing or hearing the spirit realms. And, that's a beautiful thing. But, yeah, Gail, if you have any.
Yeah, and Gail, never stop talking to your mother. That's one thing I've written in my end of life directives, is to tell my children never to stop talking to me, because she can still hear you the same as we're conversing right now. So she's not, there's such a finality to death, and really we don't die. And you will see your loved ones again, which is important to remember too. But we've been taught that death is such a final thing, and really death is something that should be celebrated, because you really don't start living until you leave this school ground that we're on, and that's very difficult. Life begins when you cross, and they are still very much around you, and you can even create a pact with your mama. I know that my mother leaves her long white hairs, and she's been gone for 10 years, and I still find them on the chair at Thanksgiving, just laid out lengthwise. My sister leaves feathers, like parrot feathers. They're not just regular outside door bird feathers. I'll find like a cockatoo or a macaw feather, a little fluff thing. So she leaves feathers. And my father's always around me when I'm writing my books and stuff, correcting me, and I can feel him, and he was a math professor. So but they can leave, and you can ask them to leave symbols. You can pick a symbol, a ladybug or an eagle or a number for that matter, and ask them whenever they're around, because life is so hectic and we're never really totally focused on one thing at a time, especially if you're female. Your mind is like in 20 different places at once.
Yes.
But to have them be able to leave a message for you by leaving a symbol, so that you know for sure that they are with you in that moment. And when you are thinking of them, they are with you, because everything is done through telepathy and mentally up there. And all they have to do is to be called or to think about something, and they're instantaneously there. Like if they want to go somewhere, keeping in mind that they can also be 6 places simultaneously at one time. So they can be sitting at the breakfast table with you and driving down the road in the car with their best friend, and that sort of thing. So please never stop talking to your mama. I
And
promise you she can hear you.
yes, and vice versa as well. All we have to do is just think of them, and boom, their energy's here with us. As Lynn said, they can be multiple places because it's energy. So it's like the energy, their energy will split off over here and over there and over here. And so it's very interesting how, we can just think of them and boom, they're right here. So it's a very beautiful, amazing, um, it's not ability, but it's just an amazing way that life happens, whether in body or not. It's just absolutely a beautiful, beautiful thing that God and the divine are allowing us to experience when we miss our close loved ones.
That's true. My mom, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My mom, one time I may have mentioned this already before, but because of their abilities with thought, which actually we also have, if we could develop it more, and we're starting to come into that, even more so. One time I asked my mom, I said, Mom, do you ever miss the taste of your potato salad or your chocolate brownies or your barbecued ribs that you used to make? And she comes through like a megaphone and she says, well, we don't eat here. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but don't you ever miss it? And she says to me, she says, well, here we do everything by thought. She said, so if we want to go somewhere, we think of it and we're just instantly there. She said, so like in the case of food and eating things, if we want to experience that, all that we have to do is think of it, and the flavor and the sensation of eating it comes to us as if we are actually eating it. So I thought that was really interesting, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I'm going to miss eating on the other side. They don't eat. They even do it better because there's no calories. You can eat 20 Ben and Jerry's Cherries Garcia and there are no calories. So it's really a better deal.
Right? So Gail says, okay, thank you, Gail. Okay, so we have a lot. She says, I know I saw an angel of light before my mom passed. I still talk. Gail, if you don't mind, while I'm reading the rest, will you please type something about the description of the angel? That's very interesting to know for the viewers. Okay, let's see. Okay, I still talk to her and ask her advice. My mom leaves the weirdest things, laugh out loud. And then she says, let's see, I wondered about them being in multiple places at the same time. And she said, I've had cardinals around me and butterflies. So do
Dragonflies too. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And dragon, oh, nice. Dragonfly. Mm-hmm. Nice. And she said, my mom and I had telepathic connection. Wow, when she was alive. So that
you still do.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, you still do. You still do. Never stop. There's such a beauty to the elation that comes from the other side at that time of death. There are no human words that can describe it. There's no feeling that can touch it. But if you're able to be in a room during that time and embrace that, or even feel that coming from your mom, if she when she comes through to you, then, that's a wonderful thing. And also, there's another thing, which is probably a whole nother show, but, we are actually living 6 simultaneous lives at one time. It's kind of like a pool table with balls, and you take the triangle off and then you hit that white ball in and they go, psh, the balls go all in different directions. That's kind of how life goes. And sometimes some of our issues in one lifetime will ripple into another and vice versa. So, that's another thing to remember too. And then as we pass, we go back to the collective consciousness or overall. But speaking of that too, it's beautiful to see angels, but there are also other beings on the other side. that are from somewhere else. And that's why when people talk about angels and aliens, they're both right.
Yes.
Because, yeah, because, it would be ignorant on our part to think with all of the stars in the sky that it might actually be a sunshine with solar systems, with planets even similar to ours. It would really be ignorant to think that we are the only ones here.
Right. Well, I mean,
So,
even if you look at the definition, our definition of extraterrestrial, like I challenge anyone, look it up. And what does it say? It will say something, I can't quote it, but something like um, it's anything that does not consist of Earth.
there you
So
go.
anything out of Earth's atmosphere, anything,
Well,
any realm that is considered alien. So,
it's
you know,
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's a little bit of a delay here, but and it's not like there are reptilians over there. There are some. When my mother passed, there were these beautiful, very, very tall beings that came in with the angels that were like at the same level as they were, but they had no wings, and they were just gorgeous. They had white, luminous hair, and literally the ceiling cut them off. And they had like 10-foot ceilings, cut them off like right about here. That's how tall they were. So, and they just, their eyes were like sunshines. I mean, again, when you're looking into the other side, when you're given, which I was given that opportunity when my mother crossed, and I've been given that opportunity other times as well, there are no human words that can describe it. It just is. But the thing is it made me realize in that moment that since there are other beings living out their lifetimes on other planets that might even be one of our lives of the six that we have, we might be an alien somewhere. When
yeah.
those entities or beings life finish, they have to go somewhere too, and energy can't be created or destroyed. So they also gather there, and they walked along with the angels. So everybody's right. There is an alien. Well, alien, but these things were gorgeous. They weren't like the creepy cryptid looking things. The praying mantis looking things. These were just, I mean, and I don't know if they were male or female. It didn't matter. They were just gorgeous. So yeah, I mean, even their robes, they were blue like sapphire. They just illuminated
Oh,
this light.
blue. Wow.
Yes, yeah, but they were that bluish green color, that not teal green but teal blue. You know what I'm saying? There's
Oh,
that difference, and a little bit darker than that maybe, but they were luminous. The threads, what they had on, it was just um, yeah, I mean, everything there is living. Rocks are living, everything is living, and people, everything is living anyway. Because, like what we learned, we were on a show. Shelly Bean and Cisco and I were on a show with Brian Bowden, and he made a point that I had never even thought of. But you know what? He's right. When you cut down a tree and you make a piece of furniture out of it, the energy of that tree is still in that wood, and you might even have a tree nymph following it around because it might have been its beloved cousin or something. So
right.
these things do have life and energy, and they do have molecular and atomic structure as well, if you want to go the scientific route. But I never thought of that before. So everything, even the steel in your car, if there is steel anymore, plastic, I don't think, it has comes from some place that is natural at some point. And so some of that essence remains. So yeah, I mean, really everything is alive, just not in the alive
It,
way that we see it, but it
right.
is everything.
True. And for those of you that are new to my channel, if you have not seen the short that I made of what Lynn is talking about, we actually had a spirit that came through. It's what was it last week or the week? I think it was last week.
Yeah, it was
Um,
Monday, I think. Monday, wasn't it? Yeah, Monday last week.
so it'll be one of my most recent shorts. But it talks about, I think it's something titled like a spirit answers. So look that up and you'll actually hear the answer with what Lynn was talking about. Sir Brian Bowden, who is a Knights Templar, was explaining that spirits are within trees. And that's what he was talking about. And a spirit actually came through the microphone that we all heard. There were four of us on the panel talking about this. And a spirit literally came through and said, yeah. So you can
I'm pretty sure, yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who that spirit was too, because as you know, I have a property that is enchanted. And I actually got to meet the tree nymph this last time. And she's got this snake looking body and kind of a bulbous head. I could draw a picture of it, but she's elegant. And and on this property, there's all kinds of fae and elementals. Shelly Bean's coming out to in November, I'm hoping, or at some point, to come on out and experience that and sit with them, because you can literally feel them crawling up on your shoulder and their little feet dangling right here, and they're just so curious and joyful, so yeah. And that whole meeting had to do with a rock. You know what I'm saying? In the very beginning, where my sister had inadvertently picked up a rock outside and put it in the house that belonged to somebody that got real grumpy about it, and then when it was given back, we built this rapport, and they're precious. And even Shelly Bean has I like your nickname, Shelly Bean.
My family calls me Shelly on one side anyway, so I'm used to Shelly.
Oh, well, good. Okay. But even when you and I have had conversations or had meetings together, they've come through for you as well. When you have visited that property remotely, Brian Bowden can verify them. He's actually met Bob, which is the guy with the rock, who is just amazing. And he saw him up close and in person. So, he's like, oh, he's sitting in the chair there. And there he is with his feet like little windshield wipers going back and forth. And he was with his shit-eating grin on his face, just watching people. Why do people do that? Type thing. So there is this element of really having more respect for even your, not that you should go hugging your furniture. I'm sure by the time it's particle board, you may have 20 things in there, but nevertheless, originally it did come from a tree. But no, he's right. If you put it in that perspective, everything has there's a life in it.
Yes. So taking what you're talking about and adding that into end of life, as a human being, there are many different, realms that can retrieve us, that can come to us to give us comfort, to let us know that it's okay, that it's not something scary, and it is just such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And Gail said, answering, she said, hang on just a moment. The angel was full size and just lit with light. I felt such comfort. She was flying around the room. Gail said, I am an alien here on Earth. Yes, you are. You are a starseed.
I think we all are. Yep.
Well, technically, we are. Scientifically, we all are. Yes, absolutely. However, I do believe there are some of us who have volunteered to come here, as well, because I am one of those. I volunteered to come here.
Me too.
So, so we have the volunteers. But we all are star seeds. So, technically, okay. So Jack Mack says, for the past 2 weeks, dragonflies and especially butterflies have been flying around me. Let me see. He has something else. Let's see if it's connected. And he said, I believe I asked this question before. Is a person who has multiple personalities really dealing with past lives? Oh, Jack Mack. Got it. So first of all, can we address the let's see, where is it at? Here it is. All of the dragonflies and butterflies that have been flying around him. Now, we know there's the spiritual meaning of transformation, but what could that mean in the sense of a past loved one or ancestors coming through? What are your thoughts on that, Lynn?
They come in as them. They write in on them. I mean, when I went to Louisiana this last time, when I was coming down the street, lined on both sides of the street in front of my house were these gorgeous purple wild pansies and these yellow butterflies. There must have been 50 of them on both sides, just flitzing to welcome me there. So it is our family members bringing us comfort and letting us know that they are there. And keep in mind that that's a family on many levels. That's not just necessarily a family that you were affiliated with in this lifetime on this earth. It could be other, dimensional beings that we're also related to, because, the reality of it is there are multiple different types of entities or beings that live feet on the ground with us on this earth simultaneously, but because our frequencies are not as high as theirs are, we can't see them. Some of them, like Bigfoot, skunk ape, whatever you want to call him, he has learned to manipulate that through the veils, and he uses the portals effectively. And he's not an alien, people. He's a species all by himself. Bob told me this, that he does exist, but that he's in a category by himself, that he is highly intelligent, and that he does cloak. And he cloaks because he elevates his frequency to a point that we can't see him on a dime, and the smell and everything goes. So, yeah. It's interesting, that it could be more than, it could be just lots of people that love you.
Gail, if you don't mind, can you please describe some more about the angel? Did the angel have wings? Was it the normal, what most people think an angel looks like? And I'm asking this because those of you that are new, I communicate since I had an NDE, a near death out of body experience. I have been connecting with extraterrestrials who are of love and who are of God. Okay. They are here for us. Now, the extraterrestrials, some of them are what I call the bird people, not the blue avians. They look like human beings, all different ethnicities. But they have mixtures of bird parts. So I call them the bird people. I don't know what else to call them. But some of them will have fully human bodies, but then they will have maybe bird eyes and a bird nose, but then they have human-like hair. Some of them have wings and some of them do not. And I have seen actual angels as well. Actual angels are beings of the brightest, most beautiful light, but they can take on form of anything that they want. But they are these beautiful. The light. There's no way to describe it in this 3D brain. There's no way. It's just so fantastic, so beautiful. But I know that the bird people, some of them wearing white robes, could be the same beings that were seen thousands of years ago and described as angels. So that's why I am still researching and attempting to find out more truth about the matter. So it's just really interesting to me. So Gail said that. Go ahead.
It is, and even in the Fey and elemental realms, what I'm noticing is a lot of them sometimes have almost a snout like a pig, but a lot of them have like more like ears that are almost as big as rabbit ears, only up higher on the head also. And some of them have a similar appearance, and some things change where they have a nose that kind of comes over more so instead of short, and snouty. So they do look like some of the animals that we have on this earth. And I mean, I'm not saying that they're a pig because they're beautiful, the energy that but the only way that I can put it into human words to describe it is that it's similar to that type thing.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So, so we already are doing this here with cloning. In the 3D, we've already been doing this for years. So, if we're talking about such old, advanced beings, then it would be silly for us not to be open minded enough to realize that there could very well be hybrid beings, out there. You know, um,
Yes.
it's not to me, it's not far fetched at all.
No.
Um, I know what I experienced just like you do, but
Hmm.
explaining that to other people, sometimes it's not as easy, but it's getting easier because more and more people are coming forth, seeing or experiencing the same things. But it's
Absolutely.
now, Gail is saying, and Jack Mack, I will get to your question in just a moment. Gail said that as far as what the angel looked like, she said, well, it happened to me when I moved back to my home a couple of months ago. She said, I don't remember it having a solid form. Okay. But she said it was like gauzy like light with a form of an angel. So did the form of an angel, Gail, did it look like it had like an outline of wings, or was it just light? Is what I'm trying to get at here. It's the wings. Could you tell an outline of the wings or no? And then Jack Mack said, okay, so I believe I asked this question before. Is the person who has multiple personalities really dealing with past lives? So that's a very fine line and a very good question, Jack Mack. So, Lynn, what would you like to say about that?
That is so complicated. It really, really is, because there's so many different um, areas. You know, I don't even know how to describe it in human words. It could very well be. It could also be that they're interdimensional, or they're going through the veils between the 6 lifetimes that they have. And they could be transitioning upward, where they're elevating their frequency is elevating, or they're going lower and their frequency is less. But there's also the mental component to it, in the sense that a lot of times these people, they're actually like empaths, and they're misread, and they are mistaken as sociopaths or people with different types of disorders. And because their lights are so bright, there are other menacing spirits around that do watch and try to attach themselves to these people, or to try to derail them, or sometimes even whisper things in their ear, especially if the person has experienced some trauma in their lifetime that it would leave them open to that. So that's very complicated, because they're in that one specific mental issue. I don't want to say mental illness, mental issue. There are other steps to it that kind of fall into play, and each one makes it something a little bit different. You've then got the narcissist, and then you've got the antisocial person, and then you've got the person with the multiple personality disorder, schizo. I mean, it just, you go down the line with so many things, and it's like one small or two small things that change it, but yet there's a whole bunch of similarity too, in the medical
Yeah.
field. And it's unfortunate that in the medical field, they have to come up with a diagnosis. And sometimes when it comes to the medical field, because they're treating the physical body, they're treating what they can see, touch, and taste, for lack of a better metaphor, or smell. But they're not treating the energetic body that we all carry, which we call an auric field. They aren't familiar with that. And until they're able to find a way to treat that, um, to balance things out, because in your peripheries of your energy, that's where all of your triggers are. That's where all of your ridges or issues and things like that are. Speaking of which, I'm going to be finishing my MACE class coming up here in about a month, and I'll be happy to help people with those ridges and things like that. You can get a hold of me through my website, www.lynnmonet.com. And what it does is it works specifically with that. And it's a new kind of therapy that is not talk therapy. Because the thing about talking about issues with a therapist is that everything you verbalize and everything that you think is an energy that goes out into the universe and it comes back. Why would you want to have your most hurtful events that you're reliving in a counselor's office come back to you? That's why the no talk therapy is so important. And then you immediately release it, or you're going to stay on this rhythmic cycle that you're innocently creating for yourself, because you're repeating it over and over, seeking comfort, seeking assistance, and the medical community is not capable in that way to address it, because they're not aware that it exists. They actually deny that it exists. So, and again, like Shelley Bean said at the very beginning of the show, this is not medical advice. This is for entertainment purposes only.
This is our views and opinions.
Exactly.
And
well, there is some proof in there too, but yeah, no. So take it that way. But that is a very good question, and there's so many components to it. We could do a whole show just on that.
Well, I would like to make a comment on what you were just talking about. That is so true, and we don't have to be talking just about geriatrics, because I've had many patients who have had different disabilities, born with many different, multiple different anomalies. I'm sure you have too, Lynn, that pass away earlier in life, that are experiencing these things. So this may not be for everyone, but what I would like to talk about is the fact of what you're talking about counseling. Now, please know I am not putting counselors down at all. Okay.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
I am just going to explain an experience that I was a part of myself. I was volunteering at a drug rehab organization. It's nationwide. I won't say the name, but I was doing this because I had previously I was interested in starting some type of foundation, and for one, I knew that doing volunteering for this was going to help a lot of people. Because we cooked for them, and then we had these counseling classes. Everyone would go off into their own section, and we would give them counseling. And then also it was giving me training, things that I could learn behind the scenes of how to actually run something like that to help people, right? So it was kind of a wonderful thing for me to learn. Now, while I was there, I did this a little over a year. And while I was there in the beginning, like Lynn was talking about, we would sit around in large groups, and people, of course, would come, and sometimes it would be people who were actually at like a drug rehab home where they had been ordered by court to go, things like that. And they would come to us once a week, and we would pray, and we would have like a mini type like church service, and it was really wonderful. It was so upbeat. It was so uplifting until that part was over, and we went to have our little counseling sessions, and we were all sitting around in this circle. And I began to notice after about 6 months, the same people were never healing. The same people were still crying and reliving over and over. And I told my husband at that time, I said, I'm not sure how much longer I can do this. This is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that week by week. It's just like because I had to go to counseling. And again, counseling helped me so much. Okay. When my dad kidnapped me and some other people when I was 18, I went to counseling. Counselors are wonderful. But what we are addressing here is when you get to the point where you're constantly retelling your story and you're staying stuck there. Okay, that's
Right.
what Lynn and I are talking about. So in this counseling thing that I was a part of, after the 6 months, it was like really, really bearing on my heart. And I didn't know what to do. I wanted to be there for the people, right? I wanted to learn as much as I could about addictions to help people. Um, and this was already after my NDE, and I had started learning to walk again and all of that. So it was like I knew that was part of my calling, to learn how to help people in that way, and understand. Because if we don't go through something, we don't know, right? We just don't understand it. So I learned so much from people with addictions. We all have addictions of some kind. But this was for drugs, okay, and alcoholism. But in the course of that, I really struggled for 6 more months. Do I go? Do I stay? Because it's so uplifting. I'm learning so much from these people, and I'm really being able to be a part of them really being their best selves. Hang on just a minute. Hang on just a minute. I'm about to lose. Where did it go? It's going dead. Hang on, guys.
Yeah, mine is
Lose
too.
me. Let me plug in. Okay, we'll say. Okay, so anyways, so it was like seeing them crying after all the upliftment at the end of the night, knowing that they were going back on their bus, going back to their home or housing, wherever that they were ordered to stay, crying. They were leaving worse than how they arrived. So after about 6 more months, so a total of a year, I realized I can't be a part of this anymore. I absolutely cannot do this. So I had to finally walk away, because to me, that was keeping people stuck and bound to past. It was not helping people to actually move forward. Yes, I totally agree. We need to talk about it. We need to get things out, but there needs to be some kind of plan and action to move forward, not staying in that situation. If I still mentally stayed trapped and stuck with what happened to me when I was 18 years old, well, I would have lost my mind. Honestly, I would have just absolutely lost my mind, right? And I had to make that choice, move forward, forgive, move forward, use it for my highest good and to help other people, but move on, right? So that's what I really feel like when it comes to counseling. Now, also what you were talking about, Lynn, answering Jack Mack, as far as, there being a fine line between schizophrenia and having open abilities. Now, I can say this. While I was still bedfast, I was in a wheelchair when I would have to go to my doctor's appointments. And so I was in the wheelchair, and I was going to this counselor because they had me on some very, very strong pain medication at that time. So I was required to see a counselor through them. And so I was explaining to her about my experiences with extraterrestrials and how I was leaving my body, and talking to her about what happened during the NDE and all of these things. And it wasn't long. I got my records, and I read the records where the counselor had written that I was dissociating from my body, and that I was experiencing things that were, not reality, but I was doing it to dissociate from pain. Yes, I was in extreme pain, but I also explained to her, but I've had these abilities all my life. But see, she didn't address that in the notes. She did not address that with me. And I also explained to her that what I experience as far as like prophetic things, they always come true. That was not in the notes either. It's like Lynn was saying, I don't feel like there is a lot that they do know how to document, or what they know how to do with someone who does have open abilities, other than diagnosing with something, some kind of mental incapacity. Okay. And so we do have to be very careful. What I would say here, Jack Mac, is if you're experiencing things, or someone that's experiencing things such as visions, dreams, seeing synchronicities, prophetic things, always keep everything written down. And over time, notice, okay, is any of this coming true? And just like with me, I could be shown something right now and it happened in the next 5 minutes, or it could be 2 years from now, 3 years from now. So it's not something that you may know immediately, but if you spend enough time and, just be good to yourself or to the person that, you are researching, documenting everything, and over time saying, okay, each thing that comes to pass, go back to that paper and say, okay, this came to pass in this way. And that way, that will not only help you to learn how to, um, now I'm forgetting words. It's catching. But it will help you to be able to interpret. That's the word. Help you be able to interpret what maybe a certain symbol means for you, and means something different for everyone else. You see what I'm saying? Or, okay, wait a minute, none of this stuff came true after several years. So maybe something is going on. Maybe there is some kind of chemical imbalance. So it's something, it is a very fine line. And, I don't know what else to say about that one.
Yeah, the thing is too, is even with addiction, they're finding that addiction is what they call a ridge, which is where a feeling happens that you don't want to feel, so you fight it, and it creates this ridge, which is also then creating triggers. And even when it comes to drug addiction, they're saying that the medication is to, again, suppress the unwanted feelings that you don't want to have. And what this mace energy thing does is it removes the triggers. It cleans the line. It takes away the buttons without having to go through a lot of talk therapy. Because what they're saying is it's not what happened to you at the time that made you create that trigger or that button that got pushed. What matters is that it did happen. And with that, then you're able to release it yourself, and let it go. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you, this stuff really, I'm gonna do some for Shelly Bean and Cisco and a lot of people that I'm gonna reach out to and do this. And I'm telling you, it works. No joke, it works. Type of thing. And it will help with addiction. It even helps with ADHD, because that's also been found to be a trigger. It helps. I mean, and sometimes it can do it in one session, so you don't have to. It's years and years and years of talking to people. Usually it takes more than one, because you got stuff to clean up on the back nine after you've gotten rid of a lot of the major stuff. But yeah, I mean, like Shelly Bean was saying, it is important to make some notes and things like that for yourself, so that when you have this opportunity to let those things go, you can finally do that.
Yes, yes. So, Adventures, Marsha, welcome. And Marsha, Lynn is calling me Shelly Bean. So that's who she's talking about, just so you know, since you just came on.
Yeah, because I keep calling her Melissa for some reason, and her name's Michelle. So I'm going to call you Shelly Bean.
Oh, it's the craziest thing. I must have been a Melissa in a past life, because I kid you not, since childhood, even when we would have teachers that would come in, what do you call them? The not a substitute. Thank you. They would always call me Melissa. It was like everybody everywhere I worked, it was always Melissa, Melissa, ever since a small child, all my life, and I'm 53, guys. So I must have been a Melissa. Seriously. So I'm used to that name as well. Shelly, Shell, yes, and Melissa. So have at it. Okay. So, so we're going to have to close here very shortly because Cisco Murdoch is getting ready to go live on her channel to talk paranormal.
Woo-hoo.
Yes, heck yeah. So, Lynn, are you going to be there? I'm going.
I'm going to head over to, yeah, I've got to do some driving here in a little bit. So, but I am going to come in for the first part of it.
Okay, great. So
I'll be,
if you guys
yeah,
would like,
cheering on.
and I'll be in the live chat, so I can actually talk to you guys while Cisco's show is going. But if anyone is interested in heading on over to Cisco's show, it is on Journey of the Gate on YouTube. She's also on Rumble. I don't have the Rumble access to post. Actually, I'll tell you what I do. She sent that to me in one of the past lives that we did. So as soon as we close this show right here, I'm going to put those links where you can find her and see her live. Okay, that way you can find her Rumble or YouTube. But yeah, I'll be on YouTube chat, and so I'll see you guys. Anyone that wants to join, make sure that you come join us. So let's go ahead and answer. Okay, so
Definitely, you won't want to miss it. And even for this show tonight, don't forget to share it out, give it a thumbs up,
yes,
like it, and subscribe.
yes, thank you so much. And just remember, if you're new, you can always come in and ask us any questions, even if we're not in the live chat. I do have to say sometimes, please be easy with me. I do have a lot going on in my life behind the scenes. So, Jack Mack can tell you, everybody in the live chat can tell you, it can take me 2 to 3 weeks to get back to you. But I promise that I will as soon as I possibly can, because I'm kind of a one-man band right now, doing many things all on my own. So just be patient, but I will, if you reach out to me either by email or under this video, I will answer you back at some point, the best way that I know how. And if I don't have the answer, I will reach out to Lynn or someone else to try to get the answer for you that can, help you with your close loved one with that end of life care. Okay. Now let's see. Let's go ahead and finish this up. So Lynn said no.
I'm running a month behind on
I'm sorry.
I said, I'm running a month behind on my emails. No, please don't be offended. And everybody, I want to tell you too, Shelly Bean is absolutely an amazing reader. So if you want an excellent reading, and she's got open, which I'm sure filling up quickly, please reach out to her. You won't regret it. I highly recommend her. She is one of my go-tos for things like that. And she's been very accurate for me. So anyway, definitely reach out.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I appreciate that. But let's see. So Gail said that there were no wings. So it was a being of light. So Gail, I definitely feel like from your description, from what I have experienced, seeing an actual being of light, being an angel, that you did see an angel. And then Jack Max said, where did that go? Hang on just a minute. He said a good example would be the movie of The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Yes, when we were talking about, the fine line between schizophrenia and open abilities. All right, so it doesn't look like we have any more questions. I want to thank everyone so much for joining. And those of you that come on anytime in the future, please know that we love you, and we hope to give you some insight, with the end of life care, regardless of their age. They don't have to be geriatrics, okay? But that is what Lynn and I have had a lot of experience in, are the ages of geriatrics. I specialized in dementia and anomalies of the brain. And then Lynn, oh my God, Lynn, what can I say? Lynn is just Amazing. Okay, well, she has experienced so much that I haven't in the nursing world, and so between the two of us, and plus there are many people we can reach out to if we don't have those answers for you. So just hang in there and know that we love you guys so much. Thank you for coming on. Now let's go watch Cisco and watch some paranormal talk. Again, I'll have that description. Give me just a few minutes, and I'm going to have her link in the description below. All right. Love you guys. Bye.